Tonight on To The Point.
We say enough is enough.
A group representing the unhoused at Camp Resolution now suing the city after the city tells them to leave. Plus California's insurance crisis. State lawmakers questioning the man in charge. A tomato emergency. The efforts underway to protect local crops from disease. And later meet the employees of the Sacramento District Attorney's Office breaking barriers in the AAPI community.
Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. New tonight, a group representing the unhoused is suing the city of Sacramento. They say that the city is going back on their word as they force people to leave what's become known as Camp Resolution. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen explains what's in the lawsuit and what happens next.
What do we want? Housing! Where do we want it? Now!
Marching to the beat of their demands. Residents of Camp Resolution and those with the Sacramento Homeless Union made their presence known at City Hall.
We say enough is enough.
Camp Resolution is a homeless encampment off Colfax Street in North Sacramento. Residents have been able to live here after the city and Safe Ground Sacramento agreed to a lease last spring. But in April, the city said they were going to terminate the lease over a water board zoning variance that says the area has contaminated soil. The city is demanding everyone to move out by May 16th.
We're not all druggies. We're not all strung out. There's a lot of people out there with mental health problems, and none of the city, you guys aren't helping them like you're supposed to.
The Sacramento Homeless Union's attorney, Anthony Prince, says they are suing the city for violating its contract with Safe Ground Sacramento.
Let me start by saying that this is a clear-cut case of breach of contract. This is a legal issue and a political issue.
The lawsuit says the residents at Camp Resolution have endured multiple traumatic sweeps and are being uprooted without notice. Those named in the lawsuit included Assistant Manager Mario Lara, City Manager Howard Chan, Mayor Daryl Steinberg, and DA Tin Ho.
Mr. Lara is in for a rude awakening when he realizes that you can't just breach contracts, tear up agreements, and not there be a consequence.
A spokesperson for the city manager's office tells ABC 10 it has been trying to discuss and offer an alternative location for the residents, adding camping on contaminated soil is wrong and the city cannot ignore it. The city manager's office says the unwillingness of the union to work together is disappointing. They will respond to the lawsuit when they review it.
Jeannie, I think the biggest question that people have is what happens to those residents now? It says that they have to be out by tomorrow.
Well, those residents told me today they're not going anywhere. And of course, this lawsuit is their response to tomorrow's deadline.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much for the update. And you already know we will continue to follow this for you. All right, new details in the homeowners insurance crisis in California. Today, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara was questioned by state lawmakers as he gave an update on his sustainable insurance strategy first announced last year. It is the largest set of reforms to the state's insurance policy in more than 3 decades. Last week, as we reported, Governor Gavin Newsom announced he wants to expedite some of these reforms by adding a trailer bill to his budget proposal. And today, the commissioner said his department is on track to complete those reforms by the deadline he set at the end of this year.
The relief for consumers still feels like it's years out.
Right.
And that's the point, and that's the urgency.
We all understand the urgency, and we're trying to thread this very carefully, given the roadblocks that we have that are unique to the state. The last thing I want is for this to be implementable, and then consumers lose out over a court case, and then we're back to square one.
So he's referring to Prop 103, passed by voters back in 1988. It was the last major reform of California's insurance policy. As part of that, insurance companies have to get state approval before raising their rates, and the public can intervene in that process. The commissioner says his new reforms have to work within the framework of that law, or they risk a challenge in court. Governor Newsom is requiring state workers back into the office 2 days a week, and now that rule is being investigated. So here's the deal. Folsom Republican Josh Hoover is requesting an audit that will look at the rationale behind Governor Newsom's mandate, as well as timing, legality, and costs. Governor Newsom called on departments to bring back state workers back into the office with a hybrid schedule starting in June. Tonight, Sacramento State Police are telling people to be on alert after a sexual battery incident on campus. They say that someone was grabbed inappropriately last week near the Hornet Tunnel, and they shared this picture with us. Take a look. The department says the suspect is a 5'9" male who wore a black baseball hat and a hoodie. They say that he has been near the tunnel since the incident. And if you know anything or see this man, make sure that you call police. And a man is under arrest accused of shooting another man in Lodi. It happened Monday night at the Rivermaid Trading Company on East Pine Street. The San Joaquin Sheriff's Office says that 27-year-old Jorge Berra, an employee of the company, died at the scene, and 41-year-old Gabriel Hernandez was arrested on suspicion of murder and gun charges. Investigators have not yet confirmed a motive. And then take a look at this next story. California Fish and Wildlife is investigating why a bear cub was dropped off at the Bear League, a nonprofit in the Tahoe area. The cub was dropped off in a pet carrier with a handwritten note that wrote, "Dear Bear League, please help Moses. He doesn't have a mother." The cub, who is believed to be about 2 or 3 months old, is now at the Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care Center. Fish and Wildlife have this message for the public.
It's never a good idea, no matter how well intentioned, for the public to be out collecting wildlife. We do not know in this instance if the mother bear perhaps was around nearby. It's just hard to know. It's impossible to know. And so by collecting this particular bear, no matter how well intentioned, we may have, jeopardized this bear's life and its ability to live as a wild and free bear.
Fish and Wildlife says the bear will be kept on a natural diet and taught to forage. They hope that he can eventually be released back into the wild. All right, still ahead onto the point. Tomato troubles, an emergency declared for one of our biggest crops, but why some people are concerned about the solution to save them.
We are tracking the heat for the middle of the week under this ridge of high pressure. Some changes on the way that could take us into the Memorial holiday weekend.
And later, as we celebrate our local Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community, how the Sacramento DA's office is breaking barriers in representation.
The more representation that you have, the more that you can then serve the community in a way that is reflective of the community.
Check this out. Caltrans is doing construction on the side of Highway 99 in Stanislaus County to help keep trash and debris out of our water. So this device they are actually building will filter trash out of stormwater before it flows into the Tuolumne River. Caltrans says that the project will be finished by June. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so much construction, I feel like.
Yes,
as
everywhere.
we head a little bit closer to the big travel season, hopefully they're going to wind everything down.
Yes.
pretty
I'm not getting
here.
my hopes up, though.
I know. The nice thing is we are going to be in for a cooling trend, and it looks like that will hold all the way through the Memorial holiday weekend. In the meantime, we were tracking showers and thunderstorms yesterday throughout the Tahoe area, and today that has shifted southward, more so towards Yosemite. In the valley, we have clear skies and a nice light breeze coming in from the Pacific. That's kept some of us in the 80s for today. Not everybody, though. For Marysville and Oroville, we were close to 100, feeling a tinge of that summer heat. Near 90 for Stockton and Modesto, 80s for the foothills, and 70s up top for the Sierra. Beautiful for tonight, hanging on to that breeze, and that's going to drop our temperatures into the 60s by 10 p.m. That sunset is close to 8:15 this time of year. High pressure ridge losing grip of our weather conditions across the west. Instead, we have access to a little bit more of that cooler Pacific air. We've got a couple of weather systems to the north of us that will bring back that breeze and also set us up for a likely cooler scenario for the long-range forecast. Also likely wetter. Now, most of that will occur for the mountains, but we'll be keeping a close eye on it as we edge towards a holiday weekend. Highs in the 70s tomorrow for the Sierra, with 70s and 80s down low. Along the coast, it's cool, 60 for a high in San Francisco. That's a great place to beat the heat if these numbers are just a little bit too warm for you. 80s and 90s throughout the valley. We'll continue that cooling trend through the end of the weekend. Heading into the following week, highs are in the 80s. And again, for the full 10-day forecast at the end of that, begins our holiday weekend for Memorial Day.
Next, onto the point, the general election debates are set. When and where Biden and Trump will face off. Plus, an emergency declared over our tomato crops. The efforts underway to protect them from disease. We all love eating local produce, but new regulations are threatening an important crop this year. ABC 10's Gabriel Porras has more tonight.
Tomatoes are one of Stanislaus County's top 10 commodities, valued at over $53 million. And the effort to save that crop this year has put fields just like this one under an emergency declaration. Most of Stanislaus County's 10,000 acres of tomato fields are in the pre-flowering phase, with only a few more months until we see harvest scenes like these. That is, if the plants can protect themselves from beet leafhoppers.
They're the only transmitter of beet curly-top virus. When they feed, that's when they transmit beet curly-top virus. And that's what stunts, kills.
It's not a new problem. The pest and their crop-killing virus were first discovered in the state in the early 1900s, and there's already a pesticide designed to deter it. But in January came
the statewide regulation
restricting the use of neonicotinoid pesticides.
It was put in place to protect the honeybees, but in doing so, it was missed as to the impacts on the tomato industry.
And according to Linda Pinfold, Stanislaus County's agricultural commissioner,
because if they don't have this tool, they could lose their crop.
The impact of the new regulation could be drastic if left unchallenged.
That's important to our economy, but on top of that, it's important to people so they can be assured that they're going to be able to have a ready supply of tomatoes that they'll be able to purchase.
It's why she challenged the regulation, proposing an emergency declaration allowing tomato farmers to apply to use the pesticides. The county's Board of Supervisors approved the declaration Tuesday.
They have to have a pest control advisor. It's a very important step and a process to help support our growers.
The agriculture commissioner tells us she doesn't expect to extend the emergency because after those 60 days, the tomato plants should be less vulnerable, less susceptible to those pests. In Stanislaus County, Gabriel Porras, ABC 10.
And Stanislaus County isn't alone. Other counties in the valley have already passed or are considering similar measures. In other news tonight, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have agreed to 2 general election debates. One will take place on June 27th at CNN's studio in Atlanta. It will follow the expected conclusion of Trump's criminal hush money trial, Biden's foreign trips, and the end of the Supreme Court's term. The other debate will take place 2 months before Election Day on September 10th, right here on ABC. Right now, it's unclear if any third-party candidates will qualify for the debates. And turning to your price points tonight, the federal government's latest inflation report is signaling that inflation cooled slightly in the last month. So right now, prices are 3.4% higher compared to a year ago. Prices for rent and gas rose in April, contributing to over 70% of the monthly increase for buying items overall. And Moody's Analytics says that Americans are spending about $218 more a month compared to a year ago, but incomes are also up from last year, about $248 more a month. However, inflation is still well above the Fed's 2% target.
The Fed had been hoping to start cutting rates around this time, but instead that timeline keeps getting postponed. What this report will likely do is give them a little bit of confidence that they can start lowering borrowing costs.
And with the Fed keeping interest rates higher, student loans with fixed interest rates are now moving up to their highest level in nearly 2 decades. Sacramento's historic CocaCola Bottling plant on Stockton Boulevard is set to become a 151-room Marriott hotel. Construction of the 5-story hotel is expected to cost about $22 million. We are told that the back portion of the building was already demolished, but the front design will remain with additions like channel glass and textured cement. No timeline was given of when the hotel could open. And you already know what time it is. ABC 10 is celebrating Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And we usually see district attorneys in courtrooms putting away criminals, and we know little about who they are and their journey to doing this work. So tonight, ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shows us a different side of DA Tin Ho, who is the first Asian American to ever lead Sacramento County's DA's office. And he's not the only staff member who is part of the Asian community. Take a look.
Look at this, you guys.
This wall is historic.
When you stand back and you look at something like this, it's like, okay.
In more ways than one.
Crazy, huh?
In 2023, Tin Ho was sworn in as the very first Asian American Sacramento County District Attorney.
Out of 2,400 elected district attorneys in the entire country, I am only the 10th that is currently of API descent.
His journey started like many Vietnamese Americans, escaping Vietnam by boat during the war in the 1970s, looking for a better life.
My family and I, we were taken to a refugee camp in Malaysia, where I spent 6 months in that refugee camp. Eventually we were sponsored, and eventually we made our way to San Jose,
where I grew up.
Ho got into law because he wanted to see more people like him and believed representation mattered. In 2019, the American Bar Foundation found only 14 Asian Americans were elected as prosecutors nationwide out of nearly 2,400.
The more representation that you have, the more that you can then serve the community in a way that is reflective of the community.
In 2024, that representation is obvious within this very office. Rochelle Beardsley.
I'm an Assistant Chief Deputy District Attorney.
Born in the Philippines, Beardsley and her entire family moved to the United States when she was only 6, and she never imagined she'd end up having a law career.
6-year-old me didn't know what a lawyer was. In the Philippines, there was a dictatorship. My family lived through.
But after a very special internship, Beardsley was hooked.
I interned at the DA's office. My first year in law school, I went to Davis for law school. And that was the best experience.
Now, 24 years working at the very office she started as an intern, Beardsley reflects while looking at this wall of past DAs.
It's an inspiration to me. As soon as he was sworn in as the district attorney, he promoted me. I was a supervisor in 2014. And then when he was sworn in 2023, Tim promoted me to assistant chief to run the Community and Government Relations Bureau.
Diversity also extends into the crime lab. That's where you'll find criminalist and DNA technical leader Joy Veray. At the start of her career 23 years ago, Veray remembers being one of the only Filipino-American employees in the lab at the time.
I had one additional Asian coworker who had already been here for a while, and then one who was hired like 2 months before me. So we were really new in this lab setting.
Even though Veray was born in Salinas, her parents made sure she never lost sight of her heritage.
There was definitely a difference between what you did outside school and all those normal things versus how they raised us within our home. I had that traditional Filipino Catholic background.
Nursing was important to her family, and Veray was encouraged to pursue that career. Instead, science was her calling, and it wasn't until an infamous crime in the 90s that got her looking into forensics.
When I was in college, O.J. Simpson happened, and it really opened up people's awareness of forensic science. And I was a genetics major, so I decided to pursue that.
Since the start of her career, Veray is one of many AAPI employees within the DA's office.
I would see no different, a trend growing as time goes on of increased representation.
It's a goal DA Ho says he's hoping will take off nationwide.
We're creating a pipeline of other leaders so that Asian prosecutors, so that we have API people apply and become prosecutors, and that they then become supervisors, and that they then become executives. And then create that pipeline where one day they may want to become a judge or they may want to become a DA.
It's about representation. It's important. I do see good things to come.
And AAPI representation on the federal level is also low. We found that there are only 2 appointed U.S. attorneys out of the nearly 93 that are currently serving. And check this out. 5 Greater Sacramento organizations were honored today at ABC 10 with Tegna Foundation Community Grants. The annual awards program is designed to recognize and applaud organizations for their efforts to positively impact the local community. This year's awardees were Big Brothers, Big Sisters of the Greater Sacramento area, Opening Doors, Inc., We Force of California, Inc., Center for Post-Traumatic Growth, and the Sacramento Children's Home. ABC 10 presented each of the 5 deserving organizations with a $5,000 check. And I just want to say congratulations to each of these organizations. And thank you so much for the hard work that you do in our community. We'll be right back after this short break with what we're working on for tomorrow. As California battles an opioid crisis, critics say decades-old laws regulating methadone, which is used to treat withdrawal symptoms, are leading to more and more overdose deaths. So coming up tomorrow on To The Point at 6:30, an effort is underway at the state capitol to make methadone more accessible outside of methadone clinics. It's something that's already being done in other countries.
Imagine having to go every single day to line up to get your medication. How can you hold a job? How can you support yourself? And that's what we're doing to these people when they're just trying to do the right thing and get off of deadly drugs.
What could change, and why are California's policies surrounding methadone still so restrictive? That's tomorrow on To The Point at 6:30. And before we go tonight, a special thanks to all of you at home who watched the show. The To The Point team is very proud to announce that we have been nominated for a regional Emmy for Best Evening Newscast. And our news team has been recognized in a number of categories for their hard work put day in and day out serving our communities. And overall, ABC 10 received 30 Emmy nominations. The winners will be announced on June 15th. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate your viewership. I hope you know that we cannot do this work without you, and that everyone here at the station, we deeply care about this community because it really is our community too. So thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who reaches out, who calls, who texts, who emails, who sends cards. We hear you, we see you. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.